One of the first questions that I received when I arrived here yesterday evening, or sorry, the other day, was, so how do you know Zoltan? And I said, I don't. So they were like, oh, so how is it that you've come here? And what I understood is that I've been very lucky because by entering me into your network, I've been able to meet some really, really inspiring, intelligent, and people that have a lot of knowledge of the field that I'm in. So first of all, I want to say thank you. Second of all, my experience so far has been very, very, very good. First of all, the quality of the people, the quality of what we've been hearing, the openness of the discourse and the discussion. Basically, there's nothing that we cannot raise, and including if it's not just clapping and saying everything's great, but also to identify issues and problems. And that to me is the potential of what we're doing here. I think that the fact that you have the opportunity to set up a center like this in this day and age, where in some places people might say, well, you're behind the times because people have already been doing this for a long time. I think it's a great opportunity to do this now, because now you get to do something that is analytical and looking at what has been done and exploring ways of how to do this better going forward. So I think my feeling of what's happening here, and that is also paralleled in the roundtable sessions that we're doing right now, is the fact that we're exploring how moving forward a center like you're doing could actually have a real impact on this field, not just be yet another center in this field. So first of all, yeah, I believe so. And not just because the Israelis carry all the wisdom with them, but because of the fact that I think Israelis, we'll break this up into two eras, let's say. You've got the historical era of Jews in Europe, right. Thousands of years of development of, I call it the mobile knowledge mechanism, so that we can carry our knowledge with us, et cetera, et cetera. The need for education is a basic part of our humanity, et cetera. And then we have the last 75 years of the building of the state of Israel, where suddenly we became leaders of a land. We'll put aside the geopolitical issues that are complicated. Yeah. And I think for me, it's important to acknowledge the pain that exists on both sides of this equation. But we did do something pretty amazing there, which was to take this kind of desert space and turn it into a thriving environment. So I think that we have a lot of kind of practical knowledge of how to solve problems with a minimum amount of resources, of time, with a lot of things working against us. Europe, in a sense, has been spoiled, again, putting aside a number of world wars and things that have happened here, but it's kind of been spoiled in the sense that it is a rich continent with a large market, et cetera, et cetera. But now when things are not as easy as they used to be, some of these issues are coming up, and the discussions of how do we develop a mindset to solve some of the problems, I think, can be informed by some of the capabilities that we bring, while at the same time, the rich intellectual background that exists in Europe and still exists. Yeah. I mean, it was one of the world's centers for knowledge creation, and it still is one of the world's centers for knowledge creation. And therefore, I think that this mingling of minds and this mingling of psyches, I think, could be a winning proposition in that sense. Basically, you're talking about the world's largest challenges today. We tend to kind of be, what's the word in English? We tend to be focused on the immediate problems, and the world has some major immediate problems over the last 2 years, but it cannot come at the expense of looking at our long-term problems, because if we don't solve those going forward, then our children and their children will not have anywhere to live. And I think that, I think Europe has been making some very, very important progress technologically around that. I think also from the regulation point of view, just look at solar energy. I think probably solar energy would not be where it is today as the cheapest methodology today of creating energy in the world if it hadn't been from some of the regulations that came out of Europe over the last decade. So I think in that sense, it's really, really important. And I think a center that is embedded in its region, in its community, and understands those problems and can bubble them up and get some great people to think creatively about solving those while also having the long-term view, that is critically important. And I wish you all the best success on that.